I want to talk to my first guest, a great man, a wonderful man of God, who has an incredible, powerful testimony. I want to encourage all of you that are out there that, what I mentioned about everyone going through the storms. Well, because we're human, we all have those dark times in our lives. And for some, those dark times might be longer than others. But he's written this book that is just a wonderful guide to help you come out of those dark times. Filling My Life with Joy, a guide to the better you. Let me introduce you right now to Dr. Larry Manley. Dr. Manley, thank you so much. Thank you. Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And first off, you're coming to us from South Carolina, right?
Spartanburg, South Carolina.
All right. Now, were you born and raised there?
Seneca, South Carolina.
Okay. And you pastor at the House of Destiny.
Yes, I'm senior pastor at the House of Destiny International Ministries, and it's a wonderful thing. We're partners with Feed the Children, Operation Blessings, and we do work all over the world, and it's just a wonderful thing to be involved with such great people and such a great ministry.
All right. Well, let's talk about how did you get introduced to Christ?
It was a long process. I went through a lot of things in my life. I never saw my father. I went into the Navy when I was 17, and my friend died in boot camp with me in Orlando, Florida. I was in the U.S. Navy. And after that, things just kind of like went out of whack with me, I was angry. I got out of the military, and I went to music school in Philadelphia, got into drugs, got into a lot of promiscuous type living, but I've always been astute at getting my education. So during that time, I used my GI Bill, and I was kind of like living on both sides of the fence, as far as education-wise, and as far as running around in the streets doing things that I didn't have any business, So when I came back down to South Carolina, I started getting in a lot of trouble because I was trying to do the same thing that I was doing in the city in a small town like Seneca. So I began a life of crime, and it led me to jail and everything, and I got involved in drugs, doing drugs, and I became an addict for a long time. It was rough, and it just all spurred from there, but I always got my education, and I wound up having to be probably about 28 years behind federal and state penitentiaries, and because of drug addictions and the way that my life, it turned when I got out of the military. But I always trusted God. I was brought up in a Christian home. I always knew that God existed, and God had spoken to me in a vision when I was on the USS Diamond Head in the Navy. When I was about 17 years old, I was in the Mediterranean Sea, and He spoke to me in a vision. I saw these golden geese that looked so real. They just shot by at a full heart watch in the morning, and it stuck with me. It sticks with me today. I knew God was calling me, but I was running. I'm honest. I don't think anybody that God chooses, I don't think they want to do it. I think we all run. And when we run, what happens is we get ourselves in a lot of trouble. Because one thing I know about God, when He puts His hand on you, He's going to get His man or His woman. And sometimes we take the long road home. But if I recall, Jonah, he still made it in 3 days, didn't he? Let's look at that timeline here. You said you're growing up in a Christian home, you knew God, and unfortunately you didn't know your father. Right.
But you were in the Navy, and then when you saw this vision, so you knew God was with you, and you knew He had a purpose for you. But then, but you didn't get out of the Navy and go start a church.
No. As
you said, you started running.
I started doing my own thing.
Were doing your own thing, and getting involved with drugs and promiscuous. And you said you've probably been in penitentiary for
28 years.
28 years.
Over my period of life, yes.
Wow.
And state and federal, all over. Atlanta, Terre Haute, Lewisburg. big time penitentiaries, But I would always get my education. And that's where I got my doctorate, believe it or not, in federal penitentiary.
Okay.
Because I was just determined. And that's where I started writing books at, because this is my third book. My first book, Majestic One, and it came out in 2003, and then I wrote another one too, called Jungle Within. Well, see, I wrote all those books while I was in prison. And I started getting them published when I got out, and the ministry started, and everything it went from, I think, something like $367 in 2003 to...
Well, tell me about your time a little bit in prison, because I imagine, what I was saying right before, having a dark period, that's got to be one of the darkest right there.
Believe it or not, it was hard, but, I have to say, if it hadn't been for prison, I wouldn't be here with you today. I'd be dead. So it saved my life many times over. God has a funny way of doing business with us, But the worst part of my life is written in the first chapter of my new book, Filling My Life with Joy. It's called The Dark Night of My Soul. And what happens is that when I had surgery for cancer, it re-emerged that drug addiction. And see, I was a pastor during that time. But I had a life and death situation that I had to deal with here, And that's part of why I wrote the book, because there's people out there that needs to know that we're human beings and that you said it yourself, we go through, you either going into the storm or going through it, or you coming out of it, and thank God I'm out of it. Because going through it, that's that dark night of my soul that I went through, and that's what they say. What builds our character is what we go through. I think what reveals our character is what we go through. I think that when we're going through something, it reveals just who we are in Christ and who we are deep down. It makes us dig real deep down, and once we come on the other side of this thing, then we see the true character, and we know that we're bona fide and qualified to do what it is that we're doing, because we have to be tested. We have to go through some things, and in order to be a leader of God's people, you really got to be tested. That is an awesome job.
Absolutely. There's a guest on previously, I know he said something that stuck with me so much. It said, Christians are like tea bags, because you never know how strong they are until they're in hot water.
Yeah, you gotta get in there. You gotta get in there.
Well, tell me then, what was that testing period for you? What was that time then that made it snap, that took you to a different direction?
Well, when I saw that God was doing so much in my life, and then I got married to my beautiful wife, and I saw how God had connected us, and how when God joins things together, truly, no man can put us under. And, the Bible in the book of Proverbs talks about when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. And it's a blessing when you connect and you got automatic favor, that comes with that good wife, because behind every good man, I believe that there's a good woman. I just believe that, man. I just don't believe that we can do this thing on our own, So the Lord, He blessed me, and like I was saying, it went from $357 in 2003 to over $2 million ministry now, that we do ministry and work and all over, and it's just a wonderful thing that we're doing, And I like writing books. I like telling my story, but this is the first self-help book that I've written. It's on my life. It's about my life, and I open up completely, because I believe that we as leaders, we've got problems, and sometimes we put ourselves on, or we allow people to put us on these pedestals to the point where we can't be real. And when we can't be real, we can't be effective anymore.
So we're going to dive a little bit more deeper into that and talk about your book. And but first, we're going to take a break and go right over to Second Coming. And as they sing for us, I'm here right now with Dr. Larry Manley, author of Filling My Life with Joy, a guide to the better you. And earlier you mentioned how here you were, of course, the life that you came through, but now you're a pastor, and you're stricken with cancer and had a life-threatening surgery, and ended up having a relapse to your addiction to drugs because of it. And I think that's interesting how, here you are as a pastor, that pastors are still humans. You're still subject to, to the dark times, to the trials. So what was that like? That I want to know is, did you struggle with that? That, hey, wait a minute though, I'm doing good. Why am I stricken with this?
I struggled enormously with it. I mean, it was incredibly miserable and deplorative to me. I mean, I went through some awesome things that you know, I don't have time to talk about here live, but it's in the book about some of the things I went through. Homelessness. I mean, all the way down to eating out of trash cans, man. I mean, this thing, it took me for a ride. Yeah. And there's some people out there that's hurting out. To give you a real-time testimony, I was on my way to Atlanta today to do your show. Yeah. And I got this phone call from Blacksburg. This lady had called the Gaffney Ledger, where I did an interview, and the paper went out, and they had read the paper. And she had children in her family, about 3 or 4 of them that's on drugs and going through some things. And she ran me down, called the station, got my cell phone number, and called me while I was on the way out here because of the anointing that whoever wrote the article wrote the things that I'd said, and it pulled on her so much that I have a meeting with her tomorrow because she didn't want to brush off. So I tell you what, when I get back, I'll meet with you tomorrow. She want to buy some books, you know, but the main thing is she want me to sit down with her and talk to her about how she can help her family. So we know we've got a good thing here, you know, and it's not about the money, but it's about helping people that's in dire need of help. Just like, I mean, we're Christians, and we're supposed to be giving all that we've got in the excellence of God, and that means that we've got to be there for each other. When people reach out for us, then, you know, we have to take the time. The Bible says if a man asks you to walk a mile with him, you need to walk 2. You know, so we need to take the time to do whatever is necessary to be done. Paul said, I become all things to all men so that I can win some, you know. So whatever it takes, that's what we do. We got a man out here at Burger King right up the road here, you know, at McDonald's, right down from this place. He needed a jump off, and I knew I had to be here, but I couldn't jump him off because in my Cadillac it's hard to get to the battery, but I couldn't leave until I had somebody to jump him off. You know, it's things like that that we do as Christians, you know, and we have to give of ourselves. And once you learn and train yourself to give of yourself, then it becomes natural, you know, and that's what I did and feel in my life with joy. I gave myself to mankind so that mankind can be a better you.
Says that. Then would you say that's one of the secrets to finding life and filling your life with joy is giving
coming out of yourself and giving to others? Because as long as you you can't see your purpose, your focus will be taken away from your purpose if all you're doing is looking at the circumstance. You can't look at the circumstances in your life, but you have to look at the position that God has placed you in. You know, even when I was going through, you know, when I was going through that dark night of my soul, you know, I had to look at the position that God had placed me in. I couldn't look at my circumstances, because if I looked at my circumstances, then I was going to do like Peter. I was going to take my eyes off Jesus, and then I was going to really sink. You know, as long as you keep your eyes where they're supposed to be, and that's up, not down, but up. Which comes my help from the hills. I look into, unto my eyes, I lift up my eyes into the hills, which cometh my help. And my help comes from the Lord. It doesn't come from me. It doesn't come from the government. It doesn't come from anybody else. It comes from Jesus Christ. And that's what it's all about in my life, Jesus Christ. Because I've been through enough to know that He is the Alpha and Omega, and He is truly the author and the finisher of our faith.
Amen. Amen. Well, isn't that kind of easier said than done?
For me, when I say it, it's valid. It's bona fide. For somebody that hasn't gone through and overcome, it's just words. It's just words. You see, if the person don't have the power within them to put the power in somebody else, then it's just words. It's too many of us that don't have the power within us. We're not reaching who we're supposed to reach as leaders, as pastors, because we haven't gone through what we need to go through yet ourselves. And we're trying to speak words in a book that aren't alive. See, the life comes through experience of what's in the book.
Yeah.
And once you live, and the Bible says that we overcame by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. That's how we overcame.
Well, but how can you give encouragement to someone watching right now who are, say maybe they're watching from a shelter and that they are homeless? You know, that when you say that you know, got to the point where you were eating from a trash can, they're like, hey, you know, I'm doing that right now. You know, there's no joy going on in my life.
I mean, it's more joy there than you think, though. Because what we got to understand is Jesus, he told us that he would never leave us nor forsake us. And he won't. He's with you while you're in the trash can. He's with you while you're homeless. He's with you while you're smelling bad out there. It doesn't matter where you are. God is with you. And what God is doing is waiting for man to turn away from himself and turn toward him. And God he'll do it in warp speed. I just ordained a minister in training. I've been trying to get him for 3 years. The anointing is on him so powerful till it's pathetic. But the thing about it is, he couldn't get a job. He's a teacher. I mean, he's a teacher in the educational department of the school. He's also a coach of football, wrestling, and track. Everything he put his hands on turned to gold. But all of a sudden, he couldn't get a job nowhere. He was stuck. I told him, I said, when you turn to the Lord, he'll release it on you. He turned to the Lord, and a week later, he got a job. 1 week later, he got a job. Not only did he get another job teaching, but coaching and wrestling and track. Before that, he couldn't get... See, sometimes God will put his foot on our neck and can't nobody help us.
Let me ask you, what exactly is turn to the Lord? Because I imagine, again, going to the scenario of someone from a shelter watching, okay, that's just, you know, Christianese talking. I don't know, what exactly do you mean turn to the Lord?
Get the Bible. They know what the Bible is. They know what the Bible is. And start reading it and let God begin to talk to you. Don't cop out saying that I don't understand what the Bible is saying or nothing like that. When you start reading that Bible, see, the Spirit of God is already in you. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be living. When you connect with the Word, what happens is it begins to activate your faith. And once faith is activated, things automatically begin to change in your life. It's automatic. It can't be stopped. God Almighty can't be stopped in nobody's life. And if we just take the time and not look at our situations, but understand, okay, yes, I'm in this dilemma right now, but I don't have to stay here because God has a better place for me. Get in the Word and find out where that place is. And once you do that, you activate your faith. Look here. Can't nothing stop God. If God be with you, nobody, no man can be against you. So regardless of what situation that we're in, it makes no difference. I'm a living testimony that if you turn to God, then God will do great things in your life, and he'll make you sit before kings and everybody else in high places. God can do it for you if they'll just allow it. You just got to turn from what you want to do and start doing what God asks you to do. And you do that by getting in the book and learning what God is calling for us to do. Amen. He'll show you.
Well, tell me, where can people find out more about you? Where can people get a hold of you?
My website is www.thehouseofdestiny.org, or just pull up Dr. Larry Manley on the on Google Dr. Larry Manley, and you'll get all you want.
All right. And where can people find your book?
You can get in the bookstores, Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble. You can find, just ask for Filling My Life with Joy. Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, any of the bookstores. Just go there and tell them what you want.
Wonderful. And I encourage everyone to check it out. And you know, and as you were saying, and getting into the Word of God as well, because it doesn't matter if you're not a Christian, if you've been a Christian for a couple weeks, or if you're a Christian, a strong Christian, and a pastor at church. We all have those dark times, and we all have those days where the joy gets robbed from us. To find it, having to turn back to God and let God fill that void back up. And so, Dr. Manley, thank you so much. Enjoy it. Right now we're going back over to music. Rick Goins, and I'm so excited to be here tonight. It's going to be a fantastic show. I want you to sit down, put that remote down, but call all your friends and family, tell them to tune in to Atlanta Live. And if they're not in the Atlanta area, they can still watch online at www.watc.tv. Now, I've heard it said that there are three types of people in this world. There are those who are going into a storm, those who are coming out of a storm, and those who are in the storm. Well, I encourage you right now, if you're one of those three people, and you are, you can always call here at the prayer line, 770-300-9828. Our prayer partners are diligently waiting to hear from you and to be an encouragement with you, most importantly, to pray with you. And our first guest this evening is going to help us exactly with those who are going in those storms right now. And I said everyone is either in a storm or coming out of one or getting ready to go into one. So we're all going to want to hear from him, what he has to say. But first, we're also going to want to hear from our music guest this evening. So get ready for our first music act right now. And thank you so much for tuning in to Atlanta Live. Here they are.